Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the wonderful world of Between the Headlines, as we try to make sense of the craziness going on in this world. Now, before we get into the headlines today, we are in the midst of, according to some calendars, of the Festival of Ingathering Weeks. It's also called Festival of Weeks, Festival of Booths, Festival of First Fruits. Now, according to the main calendars, it started on September 20th. Most people recognize just the one day of the festival, so from the evening of September 20th to the evening of September 21st. But in the Old Testament, it's recognized for an entire week. And it's basically about the harvest or the ingathering of the first fruits of the harvest. And I did not do a show on that, and I should have a while ago. Now, I understand there are alternative calendars going on out there, and that's something you're going to have to pray about and research yourself. I'm not here to basically debate calendars and which one to use and all that, because honestly, I don't know which one to use. It gets a little bit confusing. And I've dug into this, and there's different reasons why people use different calendars. But honestly, I'm confused as well. So maybe one day we'll try to dig that up and go through it and try to come to some kind of consensus or conclusion. But according to the main calendars, we are in the midst of this festival. So what do? Well, the first day was about like a Sabbath day. And then from there, it's in ancient history, they would actually collect all of the first fruits. Now, understand that all these feast days point right back to Jesus. He is the reason why those feast days were established. And according to the Gospel of John, Jesus celebrated this holiday in the Gospel of John. I don't know if they call it Sukkot, but that's also a name associated with the festival that we're in as well. So if you wanted to do a study on the Gospel of John and read about Jesus' observance of that, that would probably be something great to do. All right, let's get into these headlines. Now I'm going to start the show off with Rand Paul. He's always stepping in it, isn't he? Now I'm going to play this clip because this is unbelievable. He's calling for another warp speed for the new variant. Now, I'll link this story and all the other stories today in the pinned comment. But what I want you to know about this is I'm only going to play a partial clip of this. He does make a lot of good points in his interview with the news, with the Fox News. But I don't like what he's saying right here. Okay, this is not good. Now, he talks in this clip about natural immunity. And so he makes some good points about this, about that it's basically that should be calculated. And I don't even think it really should be calculated. They shouldn't be going around testing people to see if they have immunity. Like, it should be on your word that you've been exposed to it. But of course, this is opening the door to basically accept testing, right? Let's play this little clip here.
How unfair and insulting is that to our hospital workers? There's one thing the government could do, though, right now on the vaccine front. Instead of just approving a booster, the booster is not specific for Delta. They should do what Donald Trump did and have Operation Warp Speed for the next generation, which will be a Delta vaccine. And that actually would save lots of lives. It's already been created. It's already there.
Wow.
But it's languishing in the bureaucracy. Instead, they're going to approve the...
So basically, he's calling for another warp speed. And there you heard it in its context. He believes that should be something that should be, money should be spent on, and everything else that was associated with warp speed, which was basically, as we all know, the catalyst for everything else that followed. And here we are. Unbelievable. Now, this next story. Stories like this, they expose the hypocrisy and the lies. I mean, how did a bunch of guys locked up in a jail get CV19 to begin with? I mean, talk about a control group, pun intended. Business Insider says 70% of fully potioned prisoners caught CV19 in a Texas Delta outbreak. But the potions protected against severe disease. I mean, these people were cut off from the outside world. And not only did they catch it, but they caught it while they were potioned. I mean, how does this happen? Is anyone asking any scientific questions about this? Something's not right here. Are the tests too sensitive, or is something else causing this? Now, look at this. Instead of admitting that this is weird, they say that, but at least their symptoms weren't worse. How do they know that their symptoms could have been worse? Was there a study on it? Let's read this article. September 22nd, 2021. 70% of the fully potioned people in a Texas prison caught CV19 in an outbreak. It suggests that while Delta can spread amongst potioned people, potions protect against severe CV19. Of the unpotioned prisoners, 93% caught CV19 and 1 died. More than 2/3 of the fully potioned people in a prison caught CV19 during an outbreak in the Delta variant in July, but the potions protected against severe illness, a study said. So there were 185 prisoners. Oh, they won't name the prison, right? 70% caught it. What else does it say here? 4 people, 3 of whom were unpotioned, needed treatment in a hospital, and 1 person died. Most of the prisoners were white men. Many had received Pfizer's potion at least 4 months before the outbreak. So, potioned people getting the virus. Next story. A lot of weird stuff going on with already potioned people, right? And it doesn't seem that too many people are asking questions. Everything's being blamed on CV19. No one's even looking at the potion, and if that could have been a factor in it, are they? This guy, former star on a TV show, I don't watch these kind of shows, but basically he had 1 sticker and became partially paralyzed. Jerry Messing says he's now partially paralyzed. They're blaming it on CV19. Weird. And this is where you get into some issues, because some of these effects could cross over. But of course, the conditioning and the programming makes you not look at the potion as the cause. It makes you look at CV19 as the cause. As all of this becomes one big jumbled mess. Jerry Messing was partially paralyzed after contracting CV19. He played Gordon Crisp on the High School Colt series and now has trouble moving his arms and legs. Cannot stand or walk by himself after a serious bout with the virus. He told the outlets he's been in physical therapy. He's been working with a machine to regain movement in his legs. He was hospitalized in August with CV19 and admitted to intensive care, where he was placed on a ventilator. Wow. So this is the guy here, if you don't know who he is. See if that's when he was younger. Let's see if there's any pictures of him. There he is here. Gordon Crisp. And let's see if there's any recent pictures of him. Doesn't look like it. So, this is what's going on. Everything seems to be crossing over. And look at this. Next story. Companies are finally now, all of a sudden, asking for the formula of the potion after half of America already got it. And now they want to ask what's in it. New York Times. pressure grows on U.S. companies to share the potion technology. Let's read this. As Bo Jiven convenes heads of state for a summit, pressure is growing on American drug companies, particularly Moderna, to the upstart biotech firm that developed its CV19 potion, to share their formulas with manufacturers and nations that desperately need more potion. So basically they're asking them, hey, jump off of this and give it up so that basically we can make this drug go, there's a word for it, when these drugs basically are shared with everyone else. They can now provide a generic form of it at a much lower cost. But a lot of these companies will sit on their patent for as long as possible to make as much money as they can before they give up the goods. But all of a sudden now, they're asking for it. But have no fear, because the scientists tell us there won't be any more Greek letters. Nowhere left for the CV19 to mutate to. Okay. Let's read this. CV19 is unlikely to mutate into a much deadlier variant because there aren't many places for the virus to go. The lead scientist of Oxford has said. Viruses tend to become less virulent over time as they spread through a population, which has become more immune. Now, that's not what the mainstream news is telling us. They're telling us that the Delta is so much more toxic and contagious, right? But now they're contradicting themselves. So who's right? Well, I guess they want to be the authority on that. But people are starting to stand up. They're very angry about the mandates. And it appears as though almost in every group across America, they're pushing back. They're filing class action lawsuits against the companies and states for forcing the mandates. There's a few articles here on that. This one is Yahoo Finance. LA firefighters. Lawsuit is directly aimed at trying to repeal the mandate. The legal fight in LA has exposed a bitter and widening divide between public servants like teachers, police officers, and firefighters as CV19 potion mandates become increasingly common and first responders push back. 500 LA firefighters filed a lawsuit against the city's mandate. The suit is one of several challenges among police and EMS personnel across California. So, the firefighters are fighting a different fire, aren't they? Army officer, this is HuffPost, admits having all of the potions except for CV19 because of freedom. Now, obviously, they're trying to make this guy look bad. They're trying to make him look like, oh, if he was willing to get all the other potions, why wouldn't he get this one? U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Paul Douglas raised eyebrows on Wednesday when he admitted to Fox that he had received all of the potions mandating for service members, but wouldn't receive the CV19 because of freedom. He objected to the Pentagon's mandatory potion order and would rather quit the military after 18 years of service and 2 years prior to retirement. Well, maybe the guy's had enough. Maybe he realized that he got all these potions, and maybe he feels like he's witnessed some of his fellow soldiers had something bad happen to them. Notice how they never dig into these stories, dig deeper. Why would he not want the most recent one? He said he had 8 anthrax potions. He's had smallpox potions. He's had them all. Well, maybe he's had enough. Maybe he's had enough. Now, Arizonans are pushing back as well. This is from the Washington Examiner. digging their heels in over hesitancy. Oh, look at this is the opposite. Polling is beginning to reveal a group of Arizonans will remain steadfast in their opposition to getting potioned, no matter how bleak the spamdemic gets. 22% of respondents still would refuse the free potion, even though they express more concern over a surging Delta variant of the virus in Arizona. Half of those who would refuse the potion were slightly somewhat concerned. Wow. Arizonans' opinion of Governor Odysee seems to have softened. So this is just mind control. So that if you live in Arizona, they hope that you'll just give in and go along. Notice how all of these articles basically depict people who don't want it as lost or uninformed. Here's United. United employees sue the airline over exemptions to the CV19 mandate. 97% of the workers have already gotten it. So apparently the 3% are now standing up. 6 United Airlines employees, so it's just 6, have filed a lawsuit against the company, saying it's discriminated against workers through this company-wide mandate. The lawsuit filed Tuesday in Texas federal court alleges the company refused to engage with or denied employees' requests for religious or medical exemptions. And that becomes the problem here. We can all try to get a medical exemption, but that doesn't mean that they're going to approve it just because it's available, or a religious exemption. So, of course, they want to make this look like a marginal group of people who are opposed to this. But whatever you do, don't be a mask cheater. I guess there's a new term that's been coined, a mask cheater, according to the Washington Post. Travelers continue to struggle with masking rules and the rule breakers. Are you serious? So these are the kinds of people who open up a box of crackers and slowly eat the entire box over the course of a 3-hour flight while their mask is down, infecting the entire crew. Now that the feds has extended its mask mandate for public transportation until next year, it's time to talk about the rule breakers and what to do about them. Karen Kemp saw plenty of them on a recent flight from Chicago to Honolulu. That's a long flight. Flight crew issued a stern warning that passengers had to wear face coverings at all times, including between sips of drinks and bites of food. But looking around the cabin, I saw masks off, dangling or below people's noses, says Kemp, retired graphic designer from North Carolina. I didn't notice any flight attendants say anything to anyone around me. As the spamdemic drags on, travel has become a flashpoint for mask rules. Confrontations about face masks are an almost daily event, particularly on planes. The opportunities for rule breaking abound, and remedies are few. Some passengers are tired of the requirements and are actively flouting them. Flight attendants seem equally tired of enforcing the rules and dealing with the fallout, which can sometimes turn violent. Remember all this talk early on in the spamdemic about contact tracing and all this? Well, why isn't that being talked about anymore? Maybe because they saw it was all hogwash. Are you hearing stories about people who got on a plane and that's how they got CV19? I haven't. So, they give a tongue lashing to anybody who likes to flout the rules. A mask cheater. Now, I want to get into this Petito case just a little before we finish up with these stories, because I know a lot of you are following this. John Walsh, the former host of America's Most Wanted, he has some thoughts on the case. He thinks that Laundrie, the boyfriend, never returned home, and that this was all just smoke and mirrors so they could make his getaway. They said that if he had returned home in the early hours after they already knew she was missing, then they would have started to monitor him. You guys, I think the statistic is half of all murders usually involve a spouse. It's a really high statistic. So even if a person is only looked at as a person of interest, typically the law enforcement should start to monitor the spouse. It's the first person they want to look at when there's a murder. Okay? So basically, John Walsh is saying, was he even ever there? He said he doesn't even think that Brian Laundrie ever went to the reserve. He was never there. Wonders whether anyone had even seen Laundrie since he returned to the family home. There were no confirmed sightings of him. They were just told he had come home. It was like a bait and switch. Weird, right? Says John Walsh, the host of In Pursuit, has joined the search for Brian Laundrie and expressed skepticism over whether anyone actually saw him in the family home after he returned from a road trip with Gabby Petito. I'm of a different persuasion and a different philosophy on going back to the swamp. I think he was never there. Interesting, the swamp component, right? He returned to his family home in Northport, a city near a nature reserve in Sarasota County, on September 1st, 10 days before Petito's family reported her missing. Oh, so this is before they reported her missing. He refused to assist authorities in the search. His attorney told reporters he remained at the family home, but on Friday, he told the police and the public that Laundrie's family last heard from him a few days prior. Walsh doesn't think he ever went there. There's another story about John Walsh talking about this to the USA Today. Criticized the Florida police investigation. It's pretty sad, he said. They made several errors in the case. Discovered her body, so they have found her, for those of you that are following the case, but Laundrie is still missing. They have also determined that it was in fact murder. They haven't disclosed exactly how it happened, whether or not she had a cut or hit on the head or whatever the case may be. I think if it was something like a gunshot, then they would have let us know that already, but they're saying this is all pending autopsy results. So, that's the latest on the case of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. And authorities are finally starting to admit that he may have lied about going to the reserve. He could be almost anywhere. Here's the confirmation of death at 22 years old. So they're waiting to figure out exactly how she died. My guess it was probably strangulation, or maybe she fell. Who knows? I guess we'll get more answers as soon as they find this guy, Laundrie, right? Now, if you haven't figured it out already, on to the next story. Bo Jivin is full of hot air, as are all presidents, because now he's taking aim at climate warming gases. We already knew he was going to do that, but how is he going to do that? By getting rid of air conditioners. Wasn't it just last week or a few days ago we were talking about his war on heat, and that he was going to allow companies to use part of their federal funding to actually install air conditioners? Well, now he's having a moment, because now all of a sudden air conditioners are going to be illegal. Let's read this. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency finalized a rule that will slash the use of potent climate warming gas commonly used in refrigerators and air conditioners by 85% over the next 15 years, a move that will help halve the greenhouse gas emissions this decade. Okay. The rule aims to phase out the use of hydrofluorocarbons by 85% in a range of common appliances and carries out legislation passed with bipartisan support in Congress last year. So, this is what's going on, and how are they going to enforce this? They will take an interagency approach to prevent the illegal trade, production, use, and sale of HFCs, hydrofluorocarbons, and prepare for enforcement actions to punish violators of the law. So if you've got a window air conditioning unit, you could go to jail. This is where it's all headed, you guys. Unbelievable. So, if we're not going to get on board with global warming and believe their lies, they'll just cook us to death until we do. I don't know how they're ever going to be able to do something like this. This is crazy. How are you supposed to stay cool? Do they have emerging technology? Do they have different ways for people to stay cool? Are they going to make us all use swamp coolers instead? I mean, what is this about? Who knows? Yeah. Everybody remembers this guy, Kenneth Copeland. Remember the guy who the lady interviewed him and he's like, he got all crazy. His eyes got all crazy because she was like, why do you need a private jet? Kenneth Copeland. He was on the T-Man's spiritual advisory team. Now, understand before we read this article that guys like this, they're throttled intentionally. Why? To delegitimize the rest of us, to make him look like the crazy Christian, and everyone's going to go, look, this is what these Christians are like. They're hypocrites. Okay, most Christians aren't like this because most of us aren't millionaires. But it says here the right-wing preachers cooks up the most bonkers plea yet for a private jet. Let's read this. Kenneth Copeland is begging viewers to send him cash to support his private jet so he won't have to deal with the CV19 sticker mandates to travel, which he calls the mark of the beast. Copeland, who in the past has claimed that he needed a private jet to avoid demons on commercial flights, made the claim during his Victory-thon fundraiser on Tuesday. He was the one looking like a demon in that interview. You get into this situation where they're not gonna let you fly unless you're potioned. Well, to me, that's the mark of the beast. Now, part of what he's saying is right here, but it's the messenger that's the problem, and the hypocrisy of the messenger. This is crazy. So, apparently he's already got a bunch of jets. He owns a fleet of private jets and an airport. He also griped that he needs to fly privately because too many people want to talk to him on commercial flights. Okay. You probably want to interview him and ask him how it is that you're using the money that's supposed to go to the church and help people to make yourself rich. That's probably part of it. So, welcome to the Clown Show. And last but not least, if you weren't a believer in true evil, these are the kind of stories that make you scratch your head. This is the Washington Times. Parents in California are suing over mandated chants to Aztec gods in ethnic study classes. Who the heck would mandate a child to do any project in school? Can't you just stay home that day? Is this part of a mandated curriculum? So if you're in California, this is what's going on. Your children are likely chanting oaths to the devil. A group of parents in California sued the State Board of Education Friday over proposed new ethnic studies model curriculum that would have public schools students chanting affirmations to Aztec gods and invoking an ancient Nigerian Yoruba religious prayer. Other critics have slammed the ESMC for allegedly indoctrinating students in Marxism. The State Education Board unanimously adopted the curriculum for the state's 6 million plus public students in March. The lawsuit includes the text of the Nahui Olin, described as a chant founded on the traditional Aztec beliefs, focusing especially on the four deities Tezcatlipoca, Quetzalcoatl, of course, that's the letter that shall not be named, that we've identified as one of the head demons, Huitzilpatl and Xipetotec, as well as a reference to Hanebku, an older Mayan creator deity. Now, in their own history books, they will tell you that people sacrifice to these gods. And so why would they make children do this? Here they talk about a divine force known as Ash. Other sentences such as who is going to have a positive day or who will represent their people this day. Students are told to say Ash, basically telling them to worship false gods. That's what's really going on here if you want to read between the lines. So I'm glad these parents are suing. Now, good luck with that. I don't trust the courts either. But this is what your children get in the public school. Crazy. Wow, this looks like I Pet Goat on the chalkboard here, doesn't it? Remember all the states that were in different colors on the map? What else is here? It's this chart. Now, I'm looking at this hand sanitizer, and many people have heard the stories about children basically getting alcohol poisoning from drinking hand sanitizer. Apparently, this hand sanitizer is like 10 times more potent than regular alcohol. And so, apparently some children have, well, at least one was hospitalized. I think one might have died. What is this, a tree? So, crazy times we're living in, you guys. So that's what I wanted to show you guys today. Let's go back into the chat here. It's Friday. Let this catch up. Hang out with you guys for a little bit. Raining cats and dogs over here in Connecticut. But I hear it's like in the 90s in California. East Coast, West Coast, right? Wow. If you have the means, I would imagine that this is the time where you would want to homeschool your children. Do whatever it takes because it's only getting more crazy. Thanks to the new channel member. Who's this? This is a dope dwarf. Thanks for joining the channel memberships. All right. ChristianBooks.com says Rachel. And Josiah wants to join the Amish community. Wow. So, there are still, fortunately, plenty of places to go in America where you can get away from it all. Takes a leap of faith. Not very expensive. And that's what I would recommend. All right. Good morning, Uncle Paranoia, A.T. Kerr, Rebecca. Paula homeschools her 5-year-old. Now, use this as an opportunity. Okay, we have a Facebook group, right? I think there's almost 5,000 people in the Facebook group. It's been growing steadily over the last couple years that we did it. We've set that up. You know, if any of you live in certain areas and you want to homeschool and you want to get together with some parents and share the burden, share the load, and maybe have one parent show up and school 3 or 4 children and then hand that ball off to each other so that you can continue working, that would be the place to do it. In our Facebook group, just put a post on there. Say, hey, anybody in such and such area, don't give too much information out. Have someone email you first so you can vet people, make sure they're real parents. Maybe they have a Facebook group with their children, or a Facebook page with their children on it, so you can confirm that they're actually a real person that has children. But we need to start networking so that we can share the burden, because this might be too hard for some people to do, because maybe you're a single mother and you want to homeschool your children, but either you can't afford it or you have no one to do it for you. Well, perfect opportunity. We have a group of people here that all believe in homeschooling. Most of us, I would think, probably do at this point. And so you should use the resources, use the resources that we have here. I think we also have, Sanja started a Telegram group, so you can go in there and check that out. And, you can post stuff about homeschooling in there if you want to get together with people. I just recommend, look, be careful, all right? Just because we're here doesn't mean you can trust everybody, because there's provocateurs and people that want to derail. So just do your diligence, find out who these people are, do a background check if you need to. If people come forward and offer help in this regard. Perfect scenario would be someone that's already homeschooling their child who would be willing to take on another child or two. And maybe you can pay them $100 a month, $200 a month. Believe me, it would be worth it. And that might be worth it to the person that's homeschooling. Maybe if the children get along, they'll have some socialization for the child that they're already homeschooling, and so that they would be open to introducing another child to their home. And so you can do that. And make sure your values are aligned, People homeschool for different reasons. Make sure it's for the same reasons that you want to homeschool. And I think that maybe through this, you guys can get some help. So those are some resources. We can't always just talk about all the problems on this channel. We got to talk about some solutions as well. And homeschooling is emerging as something very serious that needs to start happening on a wider and wider scale before they take away our right to even homeschool. Okay? You might even find encouragement and help about how to get started homeschooling on the Telegram group or on the Facebook group. Just to start talking to people, say, hey, I really want to homeschool. Has any of you had experience with that? Please let me know how to get started. Or is it hard? Or how much does it cost? These are all questions you can ask people. Now, I didn't homeschool, so I don't know the answers to all those questions. But there's a lot of you that I see right now, even in the chat, that have homeschooled and done it successfully. So you can be a resource. People always ask me, what can I do, Casey? What are we actually doing here? Why are we here every day exposing the enemy? Well, it's because we can all help each other. That's what the body of Christ is about. Okay? It's all about sharing our resources. And just because you don't have a YouTube channel doesn't mean you can't help people. Okay? So that's what you can do. If you're already homeschooling, help people. So if you guys want to know about the Telegram group, ask Sanja. She's in the chat here. She could tell you the name of it. Maybe even drop a link here. I don't know. Let's see if I could do that. You there, Sanja? So that's what we can do with that. So that's how you help. We need to help each other on that level. Look, I'm just a voice trying to help people all get together so that we can have a voice. That's what I'm here to do, and to expose the enemy and to bring us all together. And then the rest of it is up to you guys. You guys are the boots on the ground, right? So, all right, what else do we have here? And that's just one example. The homeschooling aspect and networking and resourcing with all the people here. There, of course, are other aspects to this as well. Like, people that are thinking about buying a property or, getting off the grid. There's plenty of people on our channel that you can talk to about that. So that's cool. Okay, what else do we have here? Thanks, Vicky. All right. Boros says, I had to cheat off the guy next to me to get through school. How does that work if you are homeschooled? Yeah, nobody to cheat off of, right? Wow. And I know, it's always the thought that counts typically. And so if you have the desire, that's the seed that's planted, and then God will develop that desire inside of you. He will help you get there. So just start with that seed. Don't ever give up on it. You might not be able to do anything today, but maybe you can do something tomorrow, or just it's on your mind and you'll be able to continually develop that desire. All right. Oh, okay. There's Sandra. It's a Telegram group. It's called Enterthestars Family Chat. I'm sure you can just search that on Telegram, the Telegram app, and it should pop right up. Thanks, Sandra, for that. So, Missouri Battle Flag says anyone who feels free to call me about it. Missouri Battle Flag. So there's Missouri Battle Flag's phone number. Okay. All right, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Appreciate each and every one of you. Guys, we will get through this. There's a lot of people that are waking up to this, to the deception, to all the things going on in this world, who want something different, want a change. We just need to get organized. That's what we need to do. And there are resources. There are people we can talk to that can help us through these times, and help to adjust our lives to be better equipped to deal with what's happening to us. It's not all doom and gloom. In fact, this could draw the body of Christ closer to each other, because you will see that there are people who want something different. So I hope you guys all have a great weekend. I don't have anything scheduled for this weekend. I did watch the Dune film, the new Dune film. But I'm always hesitant to put up trailers from films that haven't officially released yet, because they are high profile targets to be taken down. So I got to be careful with it. But I already collected some clips. There wasn't a lot to see. Most of it was just a repeat of stuff we'd already covered. But eventually we may take another look at the new Dune film, Dune 2021. Now, the copy that I got the clips from is very poor quality, too. You can't really hear the sound that well, and that's true for those kinds of films when they come out like that. So we may wait on that. Anyway, have a great weekend, you guys. Much love. Take care and be safe.